marketingmondays.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Mondays. My name is Ira Bowman, and I am joined by my guest today, Karalynn Cromeens. And Karalynn, before I get into this, I just want to apologize to everybody. We had a little bit of a technical error. I haven't had that before, but for some reason it was thinking that the show was at a different date and time, so it wasn't letting me go live. So if you saw me start and stop, apologize for that. And Karalynn actually had to jump out and then jump back in. What a mess. It's Monday, Karalynn.
Hey, we got it under control. It's a Monday. You never know what things are going to happen. You got to be flexible.
Yeah, you gotta roll with the punches sometimes. So, anyways, I'm excited to have you now. Just by way of introduction, you and I met in a networking group that we're in called High Rise, and I was hearing a little bit about your not what you do professionally for a living. You're an attorney. We'll get into that in a second. But you've written some books, and then you made this statement like, "Hey, I can help people. I can give people advice on how they can get published too." And I went, Marketing Monday. That's all I needed, right? So, anyways, I'm excited. We're going to be talking. Look, if you're in the audience and you have an idea or you want to write a book, stick around because we're going to talk about that a lot today. We're going to talk about Karalynn. You got 2 books, yeah?
Yes, I got 2 books that I wrote. Quit Getting Screwed came out first in January, and the second one, Quit Getting Stiffed, came out in September.
And I love the titles. They're attention grabbers for sure. So, anyways, tell us a little bit, Karalynn, about you first. So, you're an attorney by trade. You help people with their purchase orders, I think, in the construction world. But, anyways, I'm just gonna let you talk.
Oh, you're good. I help all things construction, from contracts to collections, all things. I think construction is a specific niche that I grew up in, so I understand it from the ground roots. And most of the companies that are in construction that do the actual things are mom and pop mid-sized businesses that don't know the legal things. But that being said, I grew up in rural Illinois. I moved to Houston about 20 years ago. I've always wanted to help people. That was my big goal in life. And how could I do that? And I really didn't know. I know I wanted to be I was a lawyer. I can do things to help people in that respect. And then I really honed in on the construction industry because that's where I came from. That felt comfortable. I've always wanted to write a book. I never thought I was qualified. I never thought that I knew enough or smart enough. As I put out in a recent social post that I failed the 3rd grade. And so that was kind of one of those mindset things that push you back. But to actually just get in there and do it and get it done, it was, I think everyone has a special thing that they're supposed to be here doing. And if they don't share that, the world's at a loss.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been asked a few times about putting out a book myself because I have some interesting things. I do a philanthropy called Project Help You Grow, and then I blew up on social media, and so it was like how did that journey, and then I was actually laid off from the print industry in 2020, and I started my own business, Bowman Digital Media. And we're doing really, really well, and so people have asked me to write about these things, and it's like I think what you just said resonates a lot with me. I never felt like A, I was that interesting, or B, I was smart enough. And then I'm going to tell you the other one it's fear. It is fear. It is this fear of rejection is what if I put myself out there and I get the want. You know what I mean? Like nobody reads it or people are like, so what? Or I don't know. Anyways. So how did you get the idea to you said it, you failed the 3rd grade, you didn't feel like you were smart enough or whatever. And I think a lot of us anyways, can resonate with that. We can understand that. But how did you go from that feeling to, hey, I can do this. This is something I want to pursue.
So it originally started with I was trying to find a way to grow my business. And so I had this goal to 10 times my revenue. And I really wanted to figure out. So threw a bunch of ideas up on what I was going to do that. Yeah. And one of them was write a book. And I really had some ideas on what to write about, contracts. Something that has always resonated with me is the subcontract on the commercial side, which is the middle guy. So you have an owner who hires a general contractor who manages the project. Then you have the subcontractor that actually does the work. And the contract from the general contractor to the subcontractor is so one-sided.
Yeah.
There's horrible terms in it. And I've always been very passionate about you guys don't sign these things. You need to know what's in here. And so I
Right.
kind of wrote about that on a little bit. And then I had a client that had signed one of these contracts. And although he did what he was supposed to on the job, because this particular contract had a what's called a pay when paid clause in it, he went under because he didn't get paid in 120 days. And he ended up going to court. I ended up spending my own time and money trying to defend him because I thought what was happening was, baloney. And he lost, and he got a big judgment against him. And it's not because he wasn't qualified. It's not because he wasn't a good contractor. It was because of the contract he signed. And so then that really lit me on fire that
Yeah.
people need to know this thing. And here's the thing that I can tell you, like when I wrote the book, I'm like, doesn't everybody know this? Like, how does everybody not know this? And
Right.
and that's one of the things that, like, it's so second nature to you, whatever the thing is that you're good at. You don't think that it's
I'll
life
still
changing
try.
for somebody
I'll
else.
still try to figure out what I'm good at, Carolyn. Honestly, but
Well, it sounds like you're pretty good at marketing. And if you've gone from being laid off to starting something on your own, somebody would love to hear that story of how you've done that. You
yeah,
know, because
I'm being a
marketing is not going anywhere. It's a huge part of whatever industry you're in.
I'm being a little bit facetious, but yeah, but certainly, I understand what you're saying. That mentality of doesn't everybody know this? Like when I grew on LinkedIn, which was my first social media network to blow up, if you will. Um, I was very open in my posts and shared what I was doing and why it was working, and I just assumed everybody was paying attention and they would do it. And then I found, it does take effort. That's the one thing that I learned, right? But even still, I feel like I'm giving people very basic tips when they're talking to me because they're not even doing those basic things right. So, yeah, I understand where you think everybody knows it or they should know it and they don't. And so it is weird, but I could write a book on just LinkedIn tips and that probably would be a pretty good seller, but it would be boring for me to write it. So
Yeah,
that's
that is you're so good at, right?
well,
But you
you know,
throw in some like interesting stories and
yeah,
it could
I think
be.
that's what it would have to be for me to be interested. Honestly, would have to be a lot of the things and people that I've met along the way. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
that's
even
what
you, I think you would be a part of my story because here you are on my show, right? So
well, and I
you
think that's what makes it exciting. Is not only everybody wants to hear the stories and how the stories finished out, and not just the content, but and again, as you know, in social media, just being authentic and showing up as yourself, right, is
yeah,
huge. And
this is
don't get me
my
wrong, it takes a lot to be that vulnerable in front of people.
yeah, it does, and it's something that I've had to get used to because no one believes me when I say this, but I'm actually an introvert. So I don't like to share. You know what I mean? Like I've been in sales for this is my well, really, some people would say my whole life, but this is my third decade of selling. Okay, professional selling, and so you have to open up. You have to learn how to network and communicate and carry on conversations with strangers and stuff like that. But when I'm not working, it's hard to get me to talk to you. I mean, I'm just gonna be blunt. A lot of people think I don't like them. It's like, no, it's just, I'm a wallflower. So, but at work, I've learned to not be that way. Obviously, I'm hosting a show. So, you know,
No, I'm the same way, and I mean, when you do that for a whole day or a couple days, it's exhausting. It's
yeah.
literally it just takes to be when it's not your normal state. I get you, and it's
Look,
but I think it's important. I think, and especially for like your customers that depend on you, your employees that depend on you, and that it's large, and the people that need your help, right? The people's life that you can change with your story is huge.
that's been for me, that's been a lot of fun. Watching the business owners, because I work with small business owners primarily, right? So I have a few that are larger accounts, but most of my business owners that I work with, they're 10 employees, they're 20 employees. They're not, these huge companies. So when I help change their visibility and increase
Hmm.
their visibility and that success that comes with that, then, their revenue goes up and they can have more employees. And, it's just a lot of fun to be a part of that. I think that if I was going to write a story, that might be the fun thing.
I mean, that's definitely, I mean, I think that's great. I think, I don't think businesses, and that's the thing is that I think there is a place for giving all the advice out there because at the end of the day, we want to know that you're the expert. Well, we don't want to do the work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I'm
I'll give
a,
you all the advice. At the end of the day, you don't want to read that contract. That's fine. I'll do it. If
I'm
you
going to
want to do
write,
it, good.
I'm going to write something here. If you could write a book, this is to the audience. If you could write a book, what would you write about? because we're going to tell you how you can write a book a little bit later. But let's do this, Karalynn. Let's get started into the first book. The first book was
Quit Getting Screwed.
Quit Getting Screwed. Okay, so give us a couple minute synopsis. What's the book about?
Okay, so this book is got probably the 20 most dangerous things in a subcontract, broken out in plain English of what they are, what they're trying to accomplish, and some ideas on how to negotiate them. Really, so that you can come into a contract and not be afraid of it, even though it's in legalese. If you're looking for some key terms and these things are going to be in there, you know what to watch out and what they mean and what they're trying to do and what to watch out for. And when I first had the idea, I don't know, I grew up, I didn't have really computers till high school. So much I couldn't think and type at the same time. So I literally had to handwrite chapter by chapter, then type it because it's just how I thought. And don't be wrong, now you can do it. You can just talk to the computer now too. They have that on Macs, whatever. But that you can really dive in, and I've had contractors tell me how much it's helped them. And just from a point of knowing what's in there, because these contracts, I promise you, even if you're in an attorney that deals with contracts, you cannot imagine what's in these ones.
Yeah, there's a ton. I've seen them because again in the print world, in the AEC for construction stuff for large format reprographic printing, we had to read those things and bid on them too. And that was for a large part of my career. I was a sales manager, and so my job was to bid on those contracts for our company. And yeah, it made my head spin. And I always wondered, do people actually read all this crap? You know what I mean? Like, you got to bid. I mean, that. I'm just telling you from the vendor side. Our mindset is we have to bid, we have to win. It doesn't matter these terms. I mean, I hate to say it.
Well, I know. I think that's how they got that way, right? Is that attorneys generally write things so they benefit their client.
Right, they're covering their own butt.
Yeah. Thinking that there's going to be a negotiation, and when there's not, and they just get signed over and over again, they just stay one-sided. I don't think it was ever the intent to be that way, but then again, you want the work. How much can you push back? So that's
right. Well, and that's what I know a lot of people would say to you. If we're having this conversation, honestly, not in front of a couple 100,000 people, even though that's what we're doing. But what they would say is, because this was my mentality. Like, look, if the squeaky wheel doesn't get the attention here, the squeaky wheel gets kicked out, right? It's like, okay, well, if I've got 7 other vendors who are willing to just go with it as is and rubber stamp it, and one vendor who wants to make all these changes, I'll just consider the 7 options and forget the 8th. And that's how we always felt, like we don't have a choice.
Well, and I think there's still some of that, right? But I think if you've worked with the company you're working with before, and they know how easier to work with, there's some there. And now with the labor shortage, really, it's kind of the pendulum is swinging to where you have more leverage, just because there aren't those 7 guys in the market anymore, because construction has got so rough and tumbly that nobody wants to stay in it.
Well, and the print business has been decimated because of all the stuff that's happened with COVID. So certainly there's a lot less. That's why I lost my job. There was a lot less business, and a lot of people did go out of business. So there are less options for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first thing you're saying is they should read everything in the contract.
Either here's the thing, is that if you don't want to, there are people like I do it for a flat fee.
I was about to say that, like, you should hire somebody who actually knows what it means, right?
Exactly. And here's the thing is, you don't want to come out with an attorney saying your attorney has reviewed this and you want to negotiate it. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what this means and give you some suggestions, and then you can take it back, because it's already aggressive to say I want to make changes, but it's really aggressive to say, oh, my attorney's looked at this and I want to make these changes. So if you do something in the middle, my main thing is that they're written in such a way currently that nobody can understand them. I don't care what you put in them. Let's just make them understandable. But until that happens, even if I just tell you what you're agreeing to so you can evaluate the risk and not change anything, it's worth, I start at $550. It's worth the $500 to know what you're signing.
Yeah.
It's so much better than just signing it anyways.
All right. I just put this in the comments, and I mean it. If you're a subcontractor, you should hire Karalynn to read the contract before you sign it, right? Don't bid on something without knowing what you're committing to. It's like the fine print in all these contracts, like the cell phones and everything else. And I'm gonna be embarrassed myself. but I'm gonna be honest, I never read any of that crap. I just, like,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
I
I think
agree.
like on
I agree to
banks and
your
credit
terms.
cards, I don't think you have much of a choice. You either got to sign what they are or you don't get any
Yeah,
service with them.
yeah, and I think, but that's the mentality I think people have on all this stuff now. You know what I mean? Like, I will tell you that as a business owner, I do read any like NDAs or any of these contracts that I'm signing because I know that they can try to sneak some stuff in there, and I'm not afraid to do the line item veto
Mhm.
stuff and go, not this, not this. And I actually have an attorney on retainer to review contracts before I sign stuff now too, because again, I'm not. That's not me. Like I'm doing what I basically have just advised people in the comments to do. Although I'm in the marketing space, not construction. But I think it's important that people at least understand that you can get burned pretty fast. Even just go back to the example you gave. The subcontractor did a good job. He wasn't paid for 4 months. He went to sue to get paid and ended up, if I understood you right, he ended up owing money, not getting money. I mean,
Correct.
it's ludicrous, but it is what happens. It's not always about what's right or what you think is fair. It's about the legal contract. I mean, you set the terms in that contract. So okay.
I agree, especially on the business side, they're very the courts are very unlikely not to enforce the terms of a contract that you sign. Maybe on the residential side, if you're, a residential homeowner against a big contractor company or something like, there's more grace given in that situation. But when it's two businesses and a commercial transaction, you're up against what you signed.
I'm gonna try a new view here. So let me see if it works. It did. How about that? Okay, hang on. That. Yeah. Oh, I don't like that view. Hang on. That'll be better. Okay.
There you go.
So this right here, I'm sharing this because if people want to read this particular book, Quit Getting Screwed, they can get it. Look at that right there. I just want to show people that's $3. I mean, I spent more on a cup of coffee this morning than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So actually, I did. Full disclosure, I didn't fold yours out of my coffee. But you guys get the idea, right? Like if you're gonna go to Starbucks or Pete's or whatever coffee place that you will go to, that's $3. So get that, and I'm gonna put the link to this book right now in the comments, and I'll put it up there. So buy, and you can get the hardcover, of course. That's 21.82 on Prime. It looks like paperback's 13.33. So you got 3 different options there. Buy. I just want to say screwed. Quit getting screwed here. Sorry, I can't. I can type and talk at the same time. It just has to be the exact same thing.
I understand that.
All right, so let's get this in. I hope I did it right. Yeah, bye. Okay.
It looks like it. Yep.
So you guys want to get it right there. Get that book. What is every book has nuggets, like unexpected. Oh, you know what I mean? Do you have like a chapter like that or a section like that where it's like, hey, you know what? You probably wouldn't necessarily think about this in this particular book, but here it is. No, I didn't prep you with these questions, by the way. Just
No, you're good. You're good.
these
No,
are
I
all
think
spitball off the top of my head, and she's getting them live fire. But anyways,
you're good. No, I think that there's a brief chapter on here on liens and lien waivers, which
okay,
that's
yeah,
that's actually the second book, but the collection issue in the construction industry because it all runs on credit
huge, yeah,
is such a
huge.
huge thing. And here's the thing is that lien rights and what a lien is, I mean, liens are the same, but the rules to have one or to create one are different in all 50 states.
You want to talk about why that is? Why construction is run on credit? Because I can actually help with that if you don't feel comfortable. But obviously, the way the construction industry set up is pretty standard across the board for these things. So these giant projects, whether it be $1 billion, $100 million, $20 million, they all pretty much work the same the way they get funded. So if you want to just kind of dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So an owner, hires an architect, get a set of plans drawn up for what he wants to do. And then he hires a general contractor. So the general contractor then takes these sets of plans of what the owner's vision is, uh, sends it out to all his subcontractors that he works with, gets some bids back for the actual work because the GC basically just manages, and then gets all those bid together and put together a bid for the owner. And then once that bid is accepted, he hires all those subs that gave the bids. Okay. And so the payment goes the same way. The owner gets financing for the project normally or has the cash to do the project. So the owner has the funds, the GC is the manager, and the subs and sub-subs, material suppliers do the work. And so how it works is that the subs do the work and then wait to get paid. So meaning they're issuing credit and then waiting to get paid.
Yeah.
And
They're
so,
buying all the materials and everything out of their pocket.
and paying their staff and
Yeah.
doing their overhead. And so it actually, the lien, because of that, the lien rights in the United States came from Thomas Jefferson because he wanted nobody would come build the Capitol building because they didn't want to. They were afraid of not getting paid because his brand new government said yes, we'll pay. And so he created this security interest that yes, you'll get paid or you'll have a right in the property. I think it actually came from English law, but that's how it came here at first. And so in the world, just in general, there's two types of credit: unsecured debt and secured debt. When you get a credit card and say you get a credit card and you run up a bill and you don't pay it, they have to come sue you and then collect on your assets and find assets if you have any to collect. So that's an unsecured debt. A secured debt is like when you go to buy your house, if you don't have enough money to pay cash, you take out a mortgage and they have a lien on your house. And that is a secured debt. So if you don't pay them, they foreclose on that lien and kick you out of the house and then sell it. And the same kind of thing, a mechanic's lien, a construction lien is the same thing as a lien on the property to secure the amounts they are owed. So it goes from an unsecured debt to a secured debt for the amount that they've improved somebody else's property with their labor and material because the construction industry runs on credit.
It's credit. And then there's phases where they'll pay out sometimes in phases. It depends on the size of the project. Yeah. Those are really for the more grand scale projects like building a hotel or building a stadium or something like that. But anyways, it is a credit-based system, and they don't get funded until the job. Like if they borrowed from a bank or a lender, they don't get paid until the job is complete.
So or it's in phases, like some of it's complete and then they'll get paid. But here's the thing: is that the small guy who's already put out ends up financing the project, right? Because they're putting out the money and they're putting out the labor.
Everything is paid for by the subs until like the GC is the one out of the least amount of money. It is kind of funny how that really works.
Yeah, and they try to shift all the risk to the subcontractors, including the financial risk.
Which is what we were just talking about in the beginning about all those terms and stuff that are in the RFQs is what they call them, request for quote. So the RFQ has all these terms in it. If you accept that, then you're allowed to bid. If you don't, then no bid. Right.
Exactly. And now, especially another thing that's coming up with bids that I wasn't really in either of my books is that what do you do about the rising cost of materials? Right. That's a whole nother. Like you put in,
and also limited availability of the materials. Like these are all based on two things: work being completed at a certain date, and then a certain quality of work. So you've got two different standards: time and quality. If the material is not available, that based on the RFQ that the terms in our RFQ, now they're liable, they're penalized for every day they're late. Usually it's by the day. And so they could lose more than they make just in fines for being late because materials weren't available, which again, have Karalynn read your contracts before.
We can add something in there so that doesn't happen and add something to your bid so that doesn't happen.
Right, because there should be some type of terminology that's inserted in there. It's not my fault if I can't buy the materials. Like physically, we can't build with no materials, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. And so that you can get an extension on your completion date because you can't get
demo work, excavation work, that kind of stuff. Obviously, you can still do, but when you get into paint and cement and concrete and
glass and windows,
rebar and all that stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff.
No, exactly.
Go into these buildings. Okay. I'm going to pull up another page. I apologize. I'm kind of doing this out of order, but the quit getting stiffed.
Yes.
This is stiffed. I thought it was screwed still. Okay. Anyways. Nope. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted to just talk about this page for a second. You got this page where people can join on LinkedIn. It's kind of neat. And I'm assuming that you can have conversations with them and stuff. And you've got quite a few followers on the page, 2,500 followers. So If
And
people
that's
want,
all really been since January. I could, and the lever, nobody was really in, it,
yeah.
having a book creates so much leverage, gets you on podcasts, gets you in front of audience. I've already had a couple speaking gigs. I have, clients come, and then from the speaking gigs, you get clients. It's amazing. It's amazing the reach you can have with a book.
So I'm gonna do this. I made a spot for you, but I didn't actually send you a connection request. So I just sent it to you now. So we can be connected. Usually what I do is I'll follow people on the show.
Uh-huh.
Because again, for those of you watching, Karalynn and I met in High Rise in a networking group, and so I made a spot for her, as I do for all the people that I meet and invite on my shows. Okay, so let's talk about this too. I want to give your law firm a little bit of run.
Mm-hmm.
So people hit this follow button. Let's go to the about section. That's always good. Okay, so it was founded in 2006. You're in Houston, know
Mm-hmm.
that, and you work primarily with subcontractors.
Correct.
What else do we need to know about Cromeens Law Firm? Did I say that right? I think I did.
Yep, you did. You're good. You're good. And so, the firm is on a mission to go United States wide, and currently we can do liens and contracts and a lot of things in all 50 states. We can litigate actually in Texas, Louisiana, California, Georgia, and I'm working on getting all 50 states here shortly.
So you're pretty much like the southern states all the way across, right?
Yep, and I'm actually working on getting. See, now that I've been licensed so long, I get reciprocity in most states. So I just have to go apply and do their application process, which I'm in the process of. But we're here to help. Basically, our niche is small to mid-sized businesses in the construction industry, and we're basically the one-stop shop. We can help you, if you need somebody to sign your contract, we have is in plain English, easy to understand contract for your clients to sign. Because what I find, the whole thing about either understanding the contract you're signing or your client understanding your contract is managing expectations so we don't end up in a courtroom, right? That is the exact opposite of what we want to happen. And so the more clear we can be on expectations, which is what the contract does, the less likely you have to pay me or some other attorney to go fight it out in court what the agreement should have been. And
Right.
so that is really my goal, is to help these companies run better businesses and keep them out of the courtroom. I know it's probably not very popular for lawyers to say, I don't want you to litigate, but I really don't. I'm here if that happens, and I'll help you if we need to do it. But if
No,
I
I
can
think that's smart. I mean, that's that whole ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, right? I mean,
exactly, absolutely, and it just across the board, if you take the time on the front end to have this contract, less likely you're going to end up in a dispute if everybody understands. And that's in
yeah,
any business arrangement, but especially like in construction, especially like residential construction. If you're going to go into somebody's house and do something, there's a high level of trust in there. And when that's broken, it's personal. And
yeah.
so let's not misrepresent on the front end, and that's a lot less likely to end up in a dispute.
I think that's important to bring up in this whole conversation about lawsuits and all this. Is the construction industry in every region is relatively a small family. You know what I mean? Like, if you burn too many bridges, you're gonna have to either shut down or move your business.
Yep.
Because there's only so many painters, there's only so many cement places, flooring companies, roofing companies, HVAC. You start going through the list of all the different subs that are out there, and there's only so many in each category in your greater metropolis region, whatever that is. For you, Houston; for me, Los Angeles. And we live in two of the largest metropolis areas in the country. I think number 2 and 4 respectively. But anyways, think about it. If you're watching the show from like Des Moines, Iowa, or someplace in North Carolina where there's not as many people, you have to be careful burning those bridges. So if you can, like you said, identify issues and fix them before they become litigious, because that's really where I think people get irritated and take it personally, right?
Absolutely.
All that other stuff is just seen as normal business. Do your due diligence and negotiating and those things. It's not, like, oh, I hate that guy or I hate that girl. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
they screwed me. But when you go to court, whether you win or you lose, you basically become enemies, right? You become
Oh,
adversaries.
well, I mean, because it takes so much, you're paying your lawyer so much money and it takes so much of your time to get ready. Like I tell my clients, before we decide to go to litigation, we're be sure that here's all the risk, here's the reward. Let's make this a smart business decision, because that's time and money that I don't know if you'll get back, right? And for me, as helping you grow a business, it's much better if you spend that money and that time growing your business, not in a courtroom, not having depositions taken, not trying to find all the paperwork that the other side has asked for. That's not a way to grow your business.
No, it's definitely not. I'm going to ask a question here to the audience. It's like teeth grinding. Have you ever gone to court or been in a lawsuit? Probably nobody wants to relive that painful memory, but it's scary. It's frustrating. I'm generally a pretty nice person, but I know at that instant, like the person on the other end of the courtroom becomes like your mortal, like diabolical enemy. You hate them. So
no, it's hard not to get that way, because each side is digging at the other side to gain leverage at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, 100%. Okay, so let's transition over to the second. Well, first of all, I don't know. Did I give you an opportunity to tell us how you wrote the book? Like, I know you said, okay, I've written a few things about blogs and stuff about, the RFQs and what to look out for. But how did you know, okay, I can write a book and I can get it published? Like, I think we missed that step. Yeah.
No, exactly. And so I didn't, I figured I'm going to write a book and I'm going to self-publish. And so I had a few chapters written. So I started looking how to self-publish a book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is nothing that I want to do. And so then I found this great company out of Austin called Scribe Media.
Yeah,
and they are not just, here's how to do your book, right? They help you deal with the things that you're talking about. Like, nobody's going to like it. What happens if nobody reads it? What happens if they think I'm stupid? What happens? They help you with this whole journey about all of the mental stuff that you tell yourself in your head. And then they give you they help you do that. So there's like a 3 or 4 day course before you write the book. And they give you an outline, help you outline the book, and there's feedback. They have editors. And so you can,
what I've got on the screen is the right one. Yeah.
Yep. Yes, sir. It actually was started by a guy named, and I think he's one of the partners, Tucker Max. And Tucker Max wrote, I hope you serve beer in hell. I hope they serve beer in hell, which was a movie. Anyways, now he's on a mission to help everybody tell their story, and he makes it easy as possible. I think they've even made upgrades since I've booked with him, but you can, it's obviously it's a service you have to pay for, but you can pay for monthly. And like I said, they give you the outline. They're all about, and then there's like weekly meetings with the group that you start with, of like authors that are still writing your book. So you can talk about, the whole process of it and where you're getting hung up on. And one of the greatest things that I learned is that you can turn off the squiggly lines on Word. You can just turn it off, because I'm the world's worst speller, and there's nothing more distracting than seeing squiggly lines. And so, like, the thing is, when you start writing like that, they call that first draft your vomit draft, because basically you're just throwing it up and putting it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're not worrying about
it's verbal vomit.
You're just putting it out there, and then you can go back and do all the things. But I mean, it really help on the not only on the publishing and the editing, but on the mentality of what it takes to write a book. And that,
so I changed the scroll question, everybody. I said, do you want to self-publish a book? Because I'm assuming if you're still watching, we got quite a few people watching. So if you are interested in self-publishing your book, like Karalynn discovered, Scribe Media, she's recommending Scribe Media. That's why I put it up there. So I put that link in the comments on LinkedIn. I should probably put that.
And actually, he's got a book too, that if you didn't want to take the course or pay him, it tells you how all to do in their book. But obviously, that's a lot more work. He was very reasonably priced, and like I said, you could pay it monthly. Super helpful, and So, and I just
put that on LinkedIn. I put that on all three. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I put that in the comments for all. It's there on all of them. I know it's long, but I don't know.
And they help you get your story out, which I think.
So let's talk about this. So Quit Getting Screwed, that was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
When did that come out?
Came out in January.
Okay. And then, so how long did it take you to write the book?
It took me 9 months.
Okay. So it's still a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So you wrote the book 9 months, you put it out.
Mm-hmm.
So you put it out in January. And then somewhere in your brain, you said, you know what, that was so much fun. 9 months worth of work. I want to do this. I want to do this again. Now,
well, the second one came out easier. It was not near. The Quit Getting Screwed one was
a learning process.
Yeah, it was a learning process, and it was a way more challenging topic. Collections is something I've done since I was a baby lawyer, and so it's just like, again, spitting it out. I already had it in my head. Getting Screwed was a little more work on how to say things, because I wasn't, I hadn't said it as much, but the collection stuff was just, it was, I had it all in. And, Texas is one of the most challenging states to have a lien and collection rights in general, just across the board, whether it's construction or not. Texas protects homesteads and individuals. Like, if you have a bunch of debtors and need a place to hide out, Texas is the place to come. That's what Davy Crockett did.
I'm not sure that Texas would want to advertise that, but
they protect it. I mean, like some states, like you can garnish. I think California is one of them. You can garnish somebody's wages if they don't pay a judgment.
Yeah, they can take
You can't do that here.
Yeah.
I can get your bank account, but I can't get your wages.
California likes to have our money, whatever, any way they can. We never met a tax we didn't vote for here. You might take more of my money here, have it.
Yeah,
California's great. Okay, so 9 months to get the first book out. It comes out January 2021. You obviously have written 2 books. When did you start writing Quit Getting Stiffed?
So when Quit Getting Screwed was in the final phases of editing, so probably November of last year.
So you never took a break. You just went from one right into the other.
Well, and everything had slowed down because COVID and legal world and construction, everything was, it was a sucky year to be a lawyer. And so
I had a lot of things, honestly. It really was. I was blessed that my business was taking off during that time. But, for a lot of my clients, that's why they hired me, because their business was sputtering or falling out of control.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what my business would look like if I didn't have these 2 book launches.
So when did the second book come out? So
just September 14th. So it's
okay, so it hasn't been out long. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there was a 9-month pause pretty much between the 2 coming out. Okay, so when did you finish? So you started November of 2020 writing the second book.
Probably finished in April.
Okay, so 5 months.
Yeah.
So you cut the time in half.
Exactly. And then it went back for edits and it came back again. And so, it's a process, but I finished it.
How many pages are these books? Because I haven't seen these books.
No, the first Quit Getting Screwed is like 130th. No, this one's 187. And Quit Getting
Screwed. You wrote everything in Microsoft Word?
Yeah. Yes, I did. And actually, if you can, Google Docs is actually just as well. You can do it in there. Yeah, I wasn't as familiar with Google Docs, so I didn't. But I think when they teach the course in Scribe, they do it in Google Docs, and the other one's 150.
I only asked that question because I want to give people a little bit of something to relative to go. Okay, well, it took 9 months to write 130 pages, or it took 5 months to write 150 pages, so they can kind of get an idea of the time commitment. Because again, you're talking to a bunch of people who have never thought probably that they could write a book.
And the thing is that it sounds overwhelming, right? But what I did is I really just, and I set aside 2 hours a day, and I'd work for 30 minutes, take a break, work for 30 minutes, take a break. And that was it. That's all I could do.
Yeah.
And I don't think
you had a job to do. Your lawyer. It's not like
exactly.
We haven't even talked about your personal life, married, kids, all that stuff. I mean, yeah. So obviously, anything that if you're going to do it full time, 8 hours a day, it would take you a lot less time.
Exactly. And just setting it whatever time frame you can do it. You just set an hour into uninterrupted. You can't even imagine how much you can get done in just an hour. It's amazing. I still do that now when I have to write articles. It's just like close the door, I have like jazz in the background music, and I just,
There you go. Well, I recommend that people would utilize what I call a block schedule. A lot of people are familiar with block schedules. I run my life that way. So during this time block, obviously I have my show, but I have time blocks for everything from reading my Bible and eating my food and spending time with my wife and kids. If it's not in my time block, it will not happen. But what it allows me to do is it allows me to figure out these are the times during the day, during the week, during the month, during the year that I'm going to be focused on these different tasks. And then when I'm doing that, I'm guilt free. I know that I can put the phone down. I know that I don't have to, do anything but that. And it's kind of like a budget. A lot of people say with a budget, it's restrictive. I'm like, no, it's the opposite. If I have $50 budgeted for going out to eat, no matter what else comes up, I know I can spend that $50 guilt free on going out to eat. And so the time budget, which actually, that's where I got it from. I did a course a long time ago by Dave Ramsey, Financial Freedom by Dave Ramsey, and that's where I learned the concept for the budgeting, and then I applied that to the time. So if people would do that to write these books, like you say, half hour, whatever time you've got available, you can knock it out. 150 pages in 5 months, you could do it. So is there a book 3 on the way?
I thought about it, but I really think eventually, yes, probably. But I think I really need to take time to leverage the books that I've had, that these 2 right now.
Yeah, because you got the second one just out.
Yeah.
What would the third book be about?
Let's see. I was thinking something about how to start a residential construction business, and that would have like all the outlines from start to finish, not only the legal side, but all of it. And then
so a home builder business kit, basically.
Correct. Like what I had a title picked out. What was it? Quit screwing around and start that residential construction.
I got you. You got a theme going. Okay. This is a marketing show. So if we can, I want to come back and talk a little bit more about what people can do to get to write a book. So we'll spend some time on that. But you've written 2 books. You've put out 2 books. They're available on Amazon. Obviously doing shows like this helps with visibility. And so that's one of the things for marketing that you can do to help sell these books. But again, for me, one of the things that I would be concerned about is I put out a book, nobody wants to read it or nobody buys it. Now that Kindle price, $2.99. I mean, that's basically free. I mean, really. So price, you've removed the price objection for sure, right? So what are you doing and how do you market a book? Let's say you're not somebody with thousands and thousands of followers on social media and nobody knows your name, on a grand scale. What are you doing to market that book? How do you move them? And is there pressure for you to move? That's probably the other question we should probably address. The elephant in the room is, okay, you put out this book, it's on Amazon. Is there pressure for you to sell a certain amount of copies or, some type of penalty? You know what I mean?
Well, I think the first thing, especially when writing in the nonfiction space, you're never going to make a ton of money selling books, right? It's just not a thing. I made Amazon bestseller both times, but it's not a source of revenue. But the thing is how you leverage, like the 2,500 followers I have on LinkedIn happened since January. So I would spend time going on LinkedIn and just finding everybody that was kind of in my industry, and and then the more like events I went to, or the more speaking engagements. I got speaking engagements I never would have gotten before because of the books.
Yeah.
Then again, so I think, and then so
you wouldn't be on the show without the books for sure.
Exactly.
Right?
And then, just like taking snippets from the book and putting it out there and on social and all of that just pushes the traffic to where the people can see you and where they can hire you. It's really a tool to put yourself out there, because there's something to be said if you wrote a book, right? It sets you apart. It gives you, and I'm not trying to brag or anything like that. I'm just saying.
No, I get it, because I'm thinking in my mind, are you sending this book to prospective clients? Like
that's what I've been doing. And so I'll go pull people that I think I'll go pull people I think that are interested in the book, and I'll send it to them with a letter. And I'm already getting traction just from that. As before, when I used to send letters, I never hear anything back. Yeah. So I think it's, it does give you more leverage in trying to get in touch with your market and showing people that you are an expert in. And don't be wrong, that like the 25 5-star reviews on Amazon for Quit Getting Screwed, I think helps. But I think it's truly helpful.
This is what Scott has to say. Whilst I can relate to the writing industry, even though I've been offered writing jobs, it's the same way as a content creator with video games. There are a few loyal followers, but growth is basically a crapshoot. Yeah, it's tough to grow. Right now, I know that it's really tough to grow too, because people, for the most part, they're good at what they do, but they're not good at the marketing part.
That's why they need you. Like,
well,
it's
yeah,
so weird. Like, if I didn't have people helping me market,
we're all good. We're all good at certain things, and I actually do try to tell people this. In fact, I'm gonna pull it up because it is. I'm gonna pull up my website real quick. There's one statement I want to show. I kept trying to pull up my WeTransfer account. So, like, that is not the one I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for right here. So one of the things that I tell people is hire us to manage your business LinkedIn marketing, SEO, to build website traffic. We do that so that you can do what? You can focus on what you do, and everybody wins. If you're spending time trying to figure out how to do your marketing and you're not good at it naturally, you're probably not going to get as much out of it, and the opportunity cost is high, right? The ROI is low, the opportunity cost is high. So,
and here's the other thing is, like a lawyer or any other industry, you don't know what you don't know. There's so much that you know that I don't know, that I would, if I even if I spend my full-time job trying to do what you do, I wouldn't be any good at it, because there's so many things that your experience has taught you, and what makes you. Marketing is a niche. It really is. But it's really hard to be competitive without it in any industry, because everybody else is out there.
Especially now, the digital world has changed. The problem, one of the main problems that people were having with COVID was they had existing foot traffic, they had street traffic, they had volumes coming in from these sources that all of a sudden those sources just evaporated, right? Less people on the street, less people driving into town, all those things. So now, where are they? They're all online.
Exactly.
But they don't know you exist. You have no SEO, you have no digital audience, and what happens is it's ghost town. But for the people who made the transition, dare I say pivot, because I don't want to use the world's most overused word, that, and you're on mute. But for those who were able to transition, you go, okay, we're not going to get that traffic the same way we've always got it. Let's figure out how. Some people went the CPC route, the Google ad route, trying to buy audience, and then there's people like me out there trying to help people with organic audience. But either way you went, if you figured out a way to turn on that funnel to siphon some of the people that are on social media, that are on Google, and get them to see your page, now all of a sudden you have it. And you've done it because, like you said, you've got 2,500 followers on your personal page since January. That's a significant chunk, and you're over the average on LinkedIn, which I think is 1,400 at last check. It was 1,400. So you're above average now. So that's good. And then you've got a page too, which I had up somewhere. Let's see if I can find it again. For the book.
Subcontractor Institute.
Yeah, let me pull it up here. I had it up and then somehow it got off. So let's just do that, and then we can show the world. Here we go. Okay, so Quit Getting Screwed today, right? Now this has got 1,000 followers.
Yes.
Right. So again, you guys can hit this little follow button, and now you got 995, and hopefully, in a minute you'll have a few more. But this is another thing you're able to put out different content on here and get different followers, and so you can have a personal post and a business post. A lot of people think that marketing on LinkedIn, especially business pages, is ineffective, and I will tell you that it's highly effective if you do it right. But again, just most people aren't doing the right things. But I see what you're doing here, and I think it's very smart. So I hope people will kind of listen to what you've said. First of all, even though you think everybody knows it, they don't, right? That's absolutely. There are people who need to know what you know, but they need an easier way to digest it. So that book can help. You don't have to sell 1 million copies of these things. You're probably not going to get rich. But the advantage to you is what? Leverage. It sets you apart. Now I'm going to tell you something that I'm doing. So I was just invited 2 weeks ago to be a TEDx speaker
Very exciting.
April of 2022. I'm excited about it for that same thing that you're talking about. It just sets me just another level. It's like, okay, well, he's not only a marketing guy, business owner, blah, 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 but he's also a TEDx speaker on this topic. And my topic is how to accomplish your dreams using LinkedIn. That's the name of the talk. That's what I'm going to be talking about. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, so I'm excited. But to me, instead of writing the book, that was just another thing that it was an opportunity that presented itself. So I'll be in Wilmington, Delaware at the end of April 2022, giving my TED Talk. But awesome. For the time that we have remaining, I would love for you to just kind of give people some advice on, how they can, if they want to write a book, how they could get started in the process. We've already talked about Scribe Media. So definitely, guys, go check out Scribe Media. But what are some things that they can do? So you had talked about mapping earlier. I think that was just on what you could do to get your business to grow. But you went from there to writing. So if you just want to talk about maybe some of your process or some advice that you would give, you wish maybe somebody had given you before you started, those kinds of things, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's okay not to. The first thing is it's okay not to know it all, right? Yeah. You could, and here's the thing is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be out there. And so like when I started writing, I had all these ideas and they were all floating around. So the main thing is to first just write them down. They can be out of order, like a big jumbled up soup, whatever. But if you just put them down there and then you can start, right? Once you put them down there, then you can rank them. And then you could go, like if you have something that you're really good at, like, okay, so for you, it's LinkedIn and how to grow your business and on how to, reach your dreams by using LinkedIn. Think of, 15 specific things that's made up of and just write them down. And then you pull them out one by one. And even if you did, like the first time I did it, I had to take the one topic and write just that by itself and then put it in on the whole thing, just because it can seem overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, how am I going to write 180 pages? And you don't just focus on the little things, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it just has to be done. Like I said, vomit draft. You're just throwing it up, putting it out there. And here's the thing is when you're writing, you're not editing. You're not editing at all. You just write. You don't even edit until the vomit draft is done. And then part of the process is after you do that, the best way that I found edit that I really help, and this is Scribe's idea, is that you have somebody that you're looking at and you're basically reading the book, literally just reading it out loud. You catch so many errors when you're verbalizing.
You'll be amazed how much you catch when you take it oral as opposed to just reading it. I use that for my editing all the time.
Absolutely. And I think, like I said, I think the world deserves to hear your story. It matters. It could change somebody's life. And don't get me wrong, you're going to take the risk that somebody's not going to like it. But you know what? Who cares? I mean, that somebody's not going to like it is, it's going to happen at some point in time. Somebody's not going to like it. Somebody's just going to disagree. That's just the way the world is.
Well, I've got another idea for people too, and I've thought about doing this. Some of us are better at talking than we are typing. So there is a program out there called Otter AI, and I use it all the time for converting videotape to transcription so that I can put in closed captioning. So that's the tool that I start with to go from video to audio to text. Okay. You could transcribe, so basically get your recorder out or open up a Zoom and record yourself just talking about a topic for an hour or two, everything about it. And that's your verbal vomit. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now you can go over to an Otter AI and convert that from audio to text for free. You don't have to pay for that service, right? They'll give you I think it's 600 hours or 600 minutes, or I forget what it is. But anyways, they'll give you so much of the service for free that you don't have to pay for it. And then you can go from there and now start to do your editing. So if you're like, man, I can't type 150 pages worth of stuff on Word because I don't know how to spell. And now, obviously, with the translation service, there's going to be some typos in there. They're going to like I slur some of my words. I don't speak really clearly, so sometimes it's like in context I go, oh, I know what that word was supposed to be, but it's not. So there will be some extra cleanup that you would have to do. it would save you a lot of time from having to type it all out. So if you type like 30 words a minute, maybe you want to do that. If you type 80 words a minute like I do, then maybe you just want to type it. But anyways, it's another. I'm just the whole point of this section right here is to give people some tools and maybe ways to get around obstacles that they build up in their mind, objections like I can't do it because you already said I'm not smart enough. Well, we both have invalidated that concern. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room to write. You don't have to know everything about the topic. You don't have to be like I don't know everything about marketing. I run a philanthropy called Project Help You Grow. I help job seekers connect with employers and recruiters around the world. I've been doing it since 2018. I've never been a recruiter. And some of the recruiters are like, how do you help people find jobs if you've never been a recruiter? I'm like, you know what? I give them what I know and I connect them to people who know what I don't know. That's how I help them. Right.
Absolutely.
So plus I increase their visibility on social media, which a lot of people don't understand the value of that, but trust me, there's a lot of power in being seen. So that's how I help. But that was one of the things that could have stopped me because a lot of people had that objection in the beginning. They're like, Ira, you're not the right guy to do this. It's a great idea, but it's not you. And I'm like, why can't I help? I might not be able to help everybody, but I'll be able to help some people. And you know what? I've helped over 500,000 people since I launched in 2018. And I feel really, really good about that.
That's
So,
amazing.
so don't let your fear of inadequacy or you're not as good as your mentor, your idol, or whoever you look up to, you don't have to be them. You can be you. If you're in that field professionally, you could probably help a lot of people who aren't.
Absolutely. And the best thing you can be is you because there's only one you. There's only one you that has this perspective on the world. And that's your job is to let the world know what your view is and what, your special skill is because everybody's got their one thing that they're here to tell the world about.
No doubt about it. I want to share this one more time. I just want everybody to see your page on LinkedIn because you're really cool. And I want people to connect with you. So connect with Karalynn Cromeens. This is the picture that you're looking for. This is the second book, Quit Getting Stiffed. It's out on Amazon right now. I actually don't think I shared that one. So let me share that one right here. It's right here. I'm going to grab this link and I'll put this in the comments so that you guys can grab it. But this book is, again, $3, $24 for hardcover, $1 more for paperback on this one because it's newer, I guess, right? So
Yeah.
Quit Getting Screwed was $13.99, I think, or $13.32 or something like that. Anyways, but $14.99. Anyways, he has options for you. Look, if you're struggling financially for $6, you can have both books.
Exactly.
Okay? So you don't have to go broke. You just pass up Starbucks one day, and you'll be fine. So this is called Quit Getting Stiff. Remind us one more time, real quick. What is this one about?
This is about collections specifically for Texas and how to have a valid lien at Texas. I also at Subcontractor Institute went into what everybody needs to do to have a valid lien in their state for free. You can find out the rules for your specific state at subcontractorinstitute.com, which is I opened Subcontractor Institute as it's got tons of free resources, education out there because I think there's this stigma about lawyers that we're expensive, and so there's so much free content here. There's like 80 free downloadable forms. There's all the rules for all 50 states. I teach the 20 chapters of Quit Getting Screwed for free, just because I think it's so important that this information is out there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome. I can't believe we're out of time already. This is
did go by fast.
Like, we don't have much to cover. And then I'd look up and we're an hour in, so we're in time. And again, for those of you who have been with us the whole time, which I think a lot of you have, I appreciate you following us through the StreamYard snafu there. That I do these shows all the time, and I don't remember that ever happening before, but it is. But Karalynn, thank you so much for hanging with me and for being a great guest. And for those of you who are in the construction business, especially if you're a subcontractor, you want to go ahead and reach out and get those books. Quit Getting Screwed, Quit Getting Stiffed. Check out the Subcontractor Institute. There's a page on LinkedIn. There is a standalone website. And then if you need an attorney, Karolynn's pretty much able to help you in most of the southern U.S., all the way from I think you said Florida, California, right? I
Mhm.
think you did. Yeah, I think you only missed maybe New Mexico down there on the
Yeah.
bottom. So, you know,
Exactly. We're here to help, like, contracts and liens in all 50 states, especially,
the take
the
the
rough
takeaway,
world out there in the construction industry.
yeah, the takeaway for construction subcontractors is make sure you're reading those RFQs really carefully. If you don't understand the legalese, you need to get somebody like Karalynn, get a lawyer to read them for you. Make sure that you're okay, and don't be afraid, as Karalynn said, to push back, negotiate. It's an opening salvo. It doesn't have to be the final, like take it or leave it. Okay.
Absolutely.
For those of you who are watching this who want to write a book, Karalynn
Do it.
has gone basically to give you encouragement that you can do it, you should do it, and she's giving you some ideas on how you can do it without breaking the bank. Scribe Media is a company that she's recommending because that's what she used, but you don't have to use that. Um, Again, just brainstorming here. It was just get it out on paper somehow. Do what we call the verbal vomit, and I even suggested maybe if you're afraid of typing or can't type fast, to do it, record it yourself speaking it, and then translate that using a program like Otter AI. I don't care what you use, but anyways, just take the audio and convert it to text, and then you can start and edit that. And then don't expect that this is going to replace your main source of income. This is just going to be, something that you can use as professional leverage. So to kind of give yourself some authority on a topic, to be seen more as a topic authority, and that will help you professionally, hopefully.
Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to hire somebody like me if you need help marketing it. I'm happy to help.
Absolutely. Definitely worth
Karalynn,
it.
I sent you a friend request. I hope you get a bunch of them today. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody.
Have a great week.
Thank you. That concludes Marketing Monday, everybody. I will be back on next week. In the meantime, I hope you have a great week. We'll see you around real soon. Thanks, everybody. BowmanDigitalMedia.com